The CR system fucking sucks. Welcome. Thank you for joining into me. A few days ago, I had done another session of my group that takes place, at least they started, on the floating island of Dalaran in my World of Warcraft homebrew campaign. They are my little guinea pigs, because they will be the first low-level adventure I have ran with the revision of my system, specifically spellcasting. And I would assume they know that there's going to be a lot of weird rules, a couple of wacky rulings. Might have overshot the mark a little bit in an encounter. But first, the build-up, the anticipation. First off, where last we left the last session off, they had finished their primary quest of the Harpies. They had received their money. Eravon brought back a book that they brought. All hunky-dory. And I had them decide off the bounty board what they wanted to do next. And they decided on hunting down, quote, the Wolfman of Silver Pine. So I got a little time to prep that. And it was a surprising amount of time. It was in between those sessions, but I got it all prepped out. Feel pretty good about it. So starting this session off, we had previously set up what their next class quests will be. Class quests, I feel, are a super cool thing from classic World of Warcraft that is probably one of most people's favorite thing about it, is how each class feels very unique and in what it does. So I wanted to try and implement that in a way I feel is suitable for D&D. So instead of locking abilities behind class quests, I decided to go for an alternate benefit for being your class in the world. So, for example, my Shadow Priest player, Amora, is conversing with an odd man of purple energy and floating bandages that wrap around his body, contained within a purple cloak, who seems to be big in on this Shadow Priest stuff. When she first arrived at Dalaran, she looked over to the recently and mostly constructed building commune of some sort of a bunch of the faiths of Azeroth. Notably missing pretty much all the elemental deities and shadow priests. They have shrines and donation areas and prayer areas for a bunch of the Naru, a couple of other random no-name gods, a couple of Loas, etc. But no shadow priests, and she was kind of shunned for that. And this creature, Zurios, found her one night and said he will help train her in the art of the void and the shadow. And on return from her harpy visit, she brought a curio, an odd purple coin he told her to look out for in case she sees it. And he said that he will get her something she desires. She said she wanted some better heavy armor, and he found it for her. In addition, he said that an important figurehead of the Shadow Priest organization will be arriving in a week and a half, and that if you wanted to make a good impression, this would be the best way to do it. It's not forced. She doesn't have to be there. It's encouraged. It's mysterious. Not really sure what will happen because of it. Eravon, my mage with a demonic alter ego, my priest with a demonic mage alter ego. One day while he was walking about, one of the guards confused him for Eravon, because they share the same body, but it was the entity known as Shenox that was controlling his body at the time. One of the guards confused Shenox for Eravon, and asked if he's met with Conrad recently in the Violet Hold, and that he's been looking to have a meeting since you've been out. Easy place. He's familiar with the Violet Hold. He's somewhat familiar with Conrad. Something to look into. And Magnus, when next time, after following that last session, he was trained, and then he went back down into the warlock sect of the Underbelly. And there he was told by a desk clerk, where usually he would meet with Ritson Flamescowl, the orcish warlock who trained him before. He met with another man who said that Ritson is not really available at the moment. But seeing as he's not wearing the robes of the Cleft of Shadows, he would be more than willing to give him a proper application into there. That application, of course, being a fight to the death with a demon that he will summon. And the man said, probably best you wait until you feel like you have another breakthrough, because these things are designed around them being level 4. And when you come back, have your allies buff you up, buy whatever goods you need, but it'll just be a battle of you and your demon versus mine. It will try to kill you, and it will not hold back. 2 versus 1 should be easy. As a reward for that, he will get access to the Cleft of Shadows while wearing his robes of the shadows. Not finalized name. There's a bunch more warlocks than just what the Underbelly intermission area has to offer, where you can buy their services, their information, etc. Following that, though, we start the session off. We finish up some Conrad role-playing for Erevan, and Conrad is interested in Shenox. Shenox is a pretty mysterious creature or entity in this world. He is forcibly inhabiting this body of a man who does not wish to hurt people. It's kind of like a Moon Knight thing. And Conrad, when seeing that it's Shenox, says, I'll train you in some of this pyromancy stuff, but in exchange, I want to be able to pick your brain a little bit. I want you to answer to the best of your ability, truthfully and honestly. And so they do. Erevan takes up this offer. Let me see exactly what the questions I asked him was. So, over the course of the day of training his new mage abilities, which he's given for free, because I'd feel bad if I charged him to learn his new abilities twice, Conrad asks, where did you come from? What is your preference towards fire magic? And because Shenox uses the body of Erevan as his spellbook, he inscribes the runes upon his flesh. That's what he memorizes his spells from. He says, what purpose do the runes on your body serve? Because not all of them are spells. There's a lot of runes all over this guy's body that are just branded in there. First one, where did you come from? Shenox isn't sure. This is information he'll gather as he levels up more, and as he draws closer to his previous level of strength, that knowledge will return to him in that familiarity. He's unsure. There was a great fire. Whoever his servants were, whatever they were, they feared him. He just sought to destroy and burn and char. Preference towards fire magic, he said, is very innate. It's just an overwhelming compulsion to do what he does this way. And what runes of the body serve? What purpose do the runes on the body serve? He says he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the body. It's just a chalkboard for him. Whatever they are, they'll matter, even if they don't right now. I loved it all. It's very good. And during that time, Magnus and Amora went out and had some wine and talked about this issue with Erevan and Shenox. They've, specifically during the Harpies, had a day where it would have been really beneficial to have Shenox, but they got Erevan. Because Erevan flips a coin at the start of every day based on the heads or tails. It's what personality will be there. And Shenox has a way to intervene should he have to, but it cannot go the other way. And I'm not really sure what they're plotting. But Amora said that she's pretty sure she can solve the issue once she has a breakthrough. Some sort of spell. Not entirely sure what they're planning, but they chat a lot. And I'm very interested to see how it goes. But after that, maybe an hour or so of roleplay. Wonderful roleplay. They divulge more into the hunt for the Wolfman. First, they ask the guy in the first year aid store what's his deal is. It's a dwarf named Deirdre. He is being commissioned on behalf of the Council of Six to dissect and try to uncover the biological mystery that is the Wolfman. There's a distinct difference between the Wolfman and typical Worgen. Worgen are known to roam most of Silverpine. They're these man-sized wolves that run on 2 legs typically and strike out with claws, ambush predators, typical. The Wolfmen, though, something World of Warcraft players may remember, are closer to the Sons of Arugal, where they are these big, hulking, darker furred, smaller, redder, more dangerous looking eyes, kind of feral Worgen. And Daedrin says that a few months ago, some members of the council rolled in one, and they brought it into the big citadel, and they never saw it again. And he thought that was the end of it until a few weeks ago when he got a ping to, if you can outsource this, if you can get us one of these and tell us what you know, we'll give you a pretty penny. And they've given him a range of 10,000 gold to give them. 10,000 gold depending on the quality of the body. If the body is too injured, is too pierced, is too broken, he'll probably pay him less because you need the body as intact as you can to be able to thoroughly understand what's all going on in it. Tells him a few things. It's unusually large. It is an ambush predator, much like other Worgen. Doesn't really know where it came from, because Worgen tend not to, just be spat out one day as this gigantic, superior Worgen. Not a lot is typically already known about Worgen. They're these mysterious wolfmen who stick towards the south of Silverpine. A lot of people think that it has something to do with Gilneas. They tend to, because at the south of Silverpine are the giant gates towards the walled-off human kingdom of Gilneas. They tend to be around there a lot. That's about all people really know. There are some speculations that Gilneas had a Worgen issue, and that's why they shut their gates, but it's a lot of speculation. Another thing to note is that Worgen aren't able to typically contract their curse like a lycanthrope in D&D would. A slash from a typical smaller Worgen probably won't infect you. This one being unusually large, unusually powerful, unusually dominant, it is said to be careful, because Worgen have to come from somewhere, and when you're not really sure of the origin of lycanthropy, it's fair to assume the strongest ones that all the other little ones avoid might be coming from this thing attacking people, leaving them alive, and then having more Worgen be spat out. Typically, these Worgens make den in dark places, like caves or mines or very heavily wooded brush. Might be treasure there. They like to gather shinies and doodads and oddities. Although they don't have children to feed, usually they'll, bring bodies and feast on them for a while. At least the small Worgen do. It's fair to assume this one would as well. They also get a book, which tells them a lot more information. It gives them an image of what to expect. There's just a casual book about aberrations and the beasts of Silverpine, etc. And although there isn't a lot of details on the larger Worgen, they do get a little more information on what to expect. These ones usually come armored, which is very odd. Typically, Worgen are just kind of naked wolfmen that run around and claw at you. The larger Worgen tend to have adornments like golden collars around their bracers, kind of like a cough piece, not a cough piece, a cod piece. Sometimes they have belts and pauldrons, all of the same make, gold and this black tarnish. It's very odd, and this has been going on for at least since the book was written, so maybe a few dozen years. It's an odd thing to note. After that, they go and discuss teleportation, because teleportation is not included in this deal, so they have to work it out themselves. And talking to Portal Master Jericho, who is also their landlord, who tries to extort as much money out of them as possible, he tells them a few options that he has outright, based on their situation, is he can teleport them to the ruins of Dalaran, where there will be a big pit, and that if they fall, that'll suck for them. They could teleport to Ironforge, and they should, keep their heads down and just get a griffin, fly out. It'll be safer, but it'll take longer. Or that he could probably kick up a teleport to one of the adjacent main cities. You'd have to walk a while, though, probably a few days just to get to where you would be if you teleported to Dalaran, the ruins of Dalaran. A little bit of discussion. Eravon will memorize a Featherfall spell the next day, and they will be off to teleport to the ruins of Dalaran. Next day appears, they teleport out after they get some gems and other slightly magical goodies to increase their odds of survival. They teleport, they featherfall, and they land. They find the body of a few more adventurers who looks like they have teleported here and were not so as prepared. The giant, maybe 70, 80 foot half circle into the ground, these jagged rocks that jut out, and the remnants of the sewers of Dalaran sticking out, kind of conveniently enough, supplying like platforming at different intervals of the ledge. Small skill challenge. Basically just roll an athletics or an acrobatics good twice in a row. You'll make it up to the checkpoint, and then after that, roll it again twice good, and you'll get out. Only bad thing that happened was the only person who rolled low enough to take any damage was Eravon. He took 20 feet of falling damage as he fell back down onto the checkpoint sewer, but they're able to make it out. On the way there, down towards the south to the road, they encountered a bunch of farmers who were just fishing. How pleasant. This party isn't good people. Gut would be insufficient. They eviscerate all the farmers after deploying a little lie to try and soothe them. They murder all the farmers. My dear Magnus harvests their souls for soul shards, and they venture south further. They walk through a little town, and the town that these fishers presumably came from, another hour or two away. They venture in, and they were talking on the way there about how they're just we can lie, we don't have to say much, we just have to get through here to get through to the path. The only other alternative is another way around, which will take another 30, 45 minutes. But they decided to go through the town and just keep their mouths shut about who they are, where they're from, just go on forward. A woman comes up and greets them, says, "Oh, how you guys doing? I haven't seen any travelers coming from this way. Are you guys coming up from Alterac?" Magnus, instantly, drop of a hat. "Oh no, we're from Dalaran." It was so funny. It was so good. I had my woman react earnestly. A little girl skips by, amazed at the news, and runs into their house. Amora says, "I want to know how many people are around us right now." She's gearing up to just murder people again. I say, "Oh yeah, there's a blacksmith structure, maybe 100 feet down, like a little bit to the east. This looks like there's two guys out there. You're clinking away. There's another guy maybe inside. There's like two farmhands in the orchard you guys just walked through. There's this lady right in front of you. There's that girl that just skipped off into the house. You see a girl over there churning butter, hanging up clothes or whatever." And there was a sigh of just, God damn it. Okay. And that's the Magnus charm for you. Love it. And I was able to write that down. It's really good. And then Amora, my girlfriend Zara, says out of character, "Surely there's no way a 10th level priest comes through here and finds the bodies and speaks with dead all of them and finds out who we are and what we were wearing." I found that to be really funny. So I start laughing. So I take a sip of my drink to hide my smile. And then everybody starts yelling, "Oh no, look at that. She's laughing. She's smiling. She knows what you're going to do. You're going to fuck us. You're going to fuck us, Koibu." It's really funny. It's a really funny thought. That's all. No confirmation or denying. They walk along the path a little bit more, and there's an encounter I roll. The encounter is a bloodbath. I nearly wipe the entire party. And I give them loot at the end. I'll get more into the details of that combat shortly. But skipping straight to the loot they find in the session isn't as good because the notes I had for their loot was partially cut off on my Google Docs because I was typing earlier above on the higher up page. And then when you get so low on a page, it skips down to the next page. So I gave them some loot, but I didn't give them all the loot that they should have gotten. In addition, a few days later, I was told that this combat was unreasonably difficult, and I agreed. I just got fucked by the CR system. But these are my guinea pigs, and they are very respectful and very understanding. And to reward that respectfulness and to not lessen the value of the threat they faced during that combat, I am going to give them all additional XP for next session. A lot of XP, because this was a really fucking difficult encounter. I'm giving them extra loot that I rolled for randomly, both in my system and from 5e. And I have given them a bit of extra gold and other general resources, like some roleplay trinkets and pickpocketing trash, as one could call it. So let's get into the encounter. They're walking along the path towards the west to Silverpine through the Hillsbrad foothills. They're like, maybe they got the rest of the day and they're basically in the border of Silverpine. I roll a random encounter. This encounter is 1d4 Horde adventurers, all Forsaken, because this is a Forsaken zone. This is where the Forsaken who have proved their mettle and have survived the threats of Silverpine move on to next. So Hillsbrad Foothills is a fairly low, the medium level for low adventurers. So I think it's reasonable to say that there are probably some fairly well-equipped adventurers here of quality experience. They see two humanoid figures walking a bit down the path. Amora got a good perception, thanks to Reneve's eye patch, and she notices them. I say, is there anything you want to do? These creatures are humanoid, but oddly thin. I don't think I said that actually, because they're equipped actually. They're humanoid, but something's up with them. They keep going. Eventually they get within speaking range, maybe like 60, 80, 90 feet out. And I say, you can see that these people are undead. They have yellow glowing eyes, gray skin, sunken features. The man's hands are slightly skeletal. He's got a big great axe on his back. He's got a javelin on his side. He's wearing a chainmail shirt. And the woman is wearing white robes. I kept it ambiguous because for this encounter, you roll 1d4, you determine 50% of them are warriors, 25% are mages, 25% are priests. I say, you see them, and they see you. And the man will point at you, and a little bit of role play where he talks to the woman, gives them another chance to do anything. And there's ultimately stalemate, and the male Forsaken tells the party to go 30 feet off the road, and they'll walk on by, and you guys can keep on going. And this is where I begin to give them details. The way the path works, if you've ever been to Hillsbrad, you know that the path is an elevated piece of land, and then off to each side is a slight slope downward. So I told the party that if you go 30 feet off the road in any direction, they will have the high ground advantage. I said this because I want them to have all the information. I want them to know that if this turns into a fight and they're off the road, it will be harder for them to fight upward. Didn't say there was going to be a fight. I didn't say there has to be a fight. I didn't say roll initiative. I just said that if you follow this man's orders, he and his companion will have the advantage attacking you three. They relent. They do not do that. And I think they agree to stick on one side of the path while they wait. Or, no. They both stick to one side of the path because this path is about, 5 units long, 5 squares long, so 25 feet in total. There's plenty of space for them to both just go on one side. They'll both stick on one side, and they will have no issue, and they'll just cross each other. It's easy peasy. So eventually they start walking, and once the man and the woman get within maybe 40 feet of them, they stand at their side of the path, and the man has his hand on his javelin on his side, and just sits there and watches them. And the woman has both of her hands on her staff like this, looking at them. And I say, they don't move. I think one of them yells at him to start walking, and they'll walk too. The man just spits on the ground. They don't say anything. And so they start walking by. How it is situated is they are down here, unmoving, and the party is slowly advancing square by square up in these top 3 hexes. These 2 NPCs are sizing up the enemies. These guys might be easy pickings. So I rolled, and I think they found them to be a good enough fight to risk attacking and looting. Not before party. Amora, being the frontliner, is walking forward. Magnus and Erevan are moving in an interesting formation, up zig, down zig, maybe 2 down zigs, and then up zig. It's very odd. But Amora says, after I pass them, I'm going to wait maybe 10 feet away from him and just watch him to make sure weapon's ready. It's a very smart play, because if she had continued, she would be the frontliner on the furthest position from them. Erevan gets through and is able to put himself on the other side of Amora, so it's like a diagonal line blocking these people's view of him with Amora. But Magnus, who's in the back of the line, I say stop. Roll initiative, because this guy reaches for his harpoon. You see his hands grip and him be able to start to make the motion to pull it out. And the order of the row, I suppose, is ruined. Because Erevan's at the farthest side, which is good. Amora's in the middle, which kind of sucks. And Magnus is the closest to this martial fighter, which is really bad. Martial fighter runs up. This is Cliff Notes version. I don't have the exact play-by-play. Martial fighter runs up. Guy in robes just starts hacking at him with his great axe. Initially, he didn't get to go as high in initiative as I thought he would. So they make a few attacks against him. And ultimately, he drops the idea of the javelin. And he pulls out his great axe, his 200 great axe. And he starts going at him. Now, this other individual, who I said earlier, will either be a priest or a mage. I rolled priest. And when I say mage, you may think, the CR7 mage? What were you thinking? Of course this fight's going to get deadly. Nay. If I used a mage, it was going to be an illusionist, a 5th level spellcaster whose really only fighting spells are Major Image, Hypnotic Pattern, Phantasmal Force, Mirror Image, Invisibility, Sleep. Shit that's not going to be useful in a fight. Hypnotic Pattern, maybe. Phantasmal Force, probably. Mirror Image, Invisibility, yeah, but not in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to one-shot you. The illusionist, is a CR3 creature. Okay? The priest, it's a CR2 creature. Okay? The priest comes prepackaged with 2 slots of Spirit Guardians. A spell that in a 15-foot radius around the priest has everybody make a 3d8, has everybody make a wisdom save, except for creatures they choose not to affect. She chose not to affect her warrior. It's a concentration spell, which I was actually really good about remembering. She just rolled exceptionally high every single time. And she just fucking ran up to Magnus and Amora. And the spirits, they make their wisdom saves. They both passed each time, Magnus and Amora. So the 3d8 was halved, but it was still like 9, 12 damage a turn. It was fucking crazy. And eventually, they take down the warrior. Magnus is nearly dead. Amora is in a rough spot, but she has the priest in a location to where if she runs away, she'll get opportunity attack. If she get opportunity attack, the priest will die. And Erevan is way the fuck over there. So what I have the priest do, is I looked up the rules for shoving, have them make a contested strength check. Priest barely beat Amora. Is it a very unlucky roll for her? She walks up 1 square to get Magnus in the range. He fails his save, gets knocked unconscious by it. And then she runs over to Erevan, who is in the radius of Spirit Guardians. He makes his save, he fails. I get almost maximum damage, and he is instantly knocked unconscious. CR2. CR2. After that, it's a really tense scene where Amora wants to get her allies up, but can't really because it's a 15-foot radius. So she runs only 3 feet up. If she runs only 3 squares away when she's 6 feet, when the other creature is 9 squares away, the creature can just run her max squares, her 6 squares, and then hit her with the clipper with the 15-foot radius. So she'll get knocked down, and if she's so low that if you fail to save, she's going to get knocked unconscious, and if they're all knocked unconscious, it's GG. It's really tense. Erevan, who is right on top of the priest, who used the rest of her movement to run over there and knock him down, rolls a natural 20 to get up, and he is combing through his character sheet for what he can do to stop this. He uses his intervene ability, which makes Shenox go into a full mode. He gets full hog mode. It does a fire AoE around him, frighten people, etc. Rolled the fire damage. It was like 1 out of her 3 HP. But he has a Pyromancer ability, which allows him to reroll the lowest fire damage dice. He rerolls it. This is in between maybe 5-10 minutes of him looking for every possible out. He rerolls it, gets a 3, barely knocks her out. They get Magnus up, and that's where we call the session. Jesus fucking Christ, this Spirit Guardian spell. Because of this spell alone, the priest should be probably a CR4. There is no way the illusionist is considered a stronger enemy in combat, which is what the CR rating is meant to determine. There is no way the illusionist is a higher difficulty than a fucking priest who only casts Spirit Guardians. This is fucking absurd, as if there's any reason to hate CR even more. My warrior was effectively a knight. He is a CR3. That was a fairly well-balanced fight, I think, in the sense where I thought the knight would run up and hit shit, and the priest's whole job was to guiding bolt, cast sanctuary on the knight if it gets hairy, and what's that shit called? Spirit flame? Guiding something. Spirit flame, the cantrip. I think that sucks. I think it's a great encounter. I think it's good. It's a low stakes encounter. It'll be a little hairy because if that knight gets out of control, but after he knocks down the first player, all you really got to do is just kite him out. It'll be nice and easy. But no, the priest, worth almost half of the knight's XP, one-shots my mage. Basically, 2 shots my warlock. Nearly 2 shots my priest. My shadow priest. Fucking absurd. And after the session, my players discussed it, and my girlfriend came up to me and told me very respectfully and supportively that encounter was pretty out of whack, and that it clearly was misaligned with the game. I agreed with her. There's an important distinction that I want to make. I say it all the time. I love running intense encounters. I am more than okay with player death, although I do not seek it out. I think death is a part of the game, and if you're never threatened, there is no point in even removing resurrection rules. You should just play with resurrection on, whatever. But what is supposed to be a low-stakes encounter should not be the... Orc's attack should not equal party TPK. And this also, as I've said at the start of the video, these players are testing out a rough draft rendition of my system. And I think this made me realize that I need to reassess some things. For example, spell levels work differently in my system. You get spells based on level at a different rate than you do in 5e. On paper, when you're just writing it out, it seemed pretty cool. But seeing it in action made me realize that it kind of sucks to be stuck with level first level and cantrip spells until level 3, along with the general scaling of how you access these spells, especially later in the game. Not that I expect my players to every campaign to be getting 8th level spells. So that is something I am reworking. And retroactively, I added additional loot to these creatures. I added extra XP, and I said in Discord, you guys did really good. Thank you for sticking with it. I know it got a little intense there. Sorry if I ruined any fun, but so as not to take away from this great achievement you guys have done by effectively beating an 8th level priest in my world as 3 level 3 adventurers, I'm giving you all a shit ton of extra XP, 1,000 each, 1,500 for Eravon because he has a weird multi-classing rule, a shit ton of extra loot. I've taken the courtesy of telling you what the gems do, what is magical, although I didn't tell them what the magic is yet because they don't have an identify spell, and that's very important. And extra, like, trash items, quote unquote. Trash as in, like, they're fun items that you don't really need. Like a game piece board, like a board of 12 game pieces, red and black, and then a rolled up wooden scroll to, like, play checkers on is, you know, an art object, I suppose. It's made me realize how cool my players are. Because I am happy that I am in a situation where my players feel like they can openly express areas in the game that they think went wrong. And as a person who takes criticism pretty personally, it's something I don't really like. Not as in I don't like criticism, but as in I don't like... Personally for me, criticism tends to feel like an attack on me, especially when it's from strangers. But I am happy that my friends, people who I trust, are able to critique the game that I play and play with them, things I do, and do it in such a respectful and kind manner that it doesn't get under my skin, I guess. And I know criticism is good. I like criticism. Criticism is very valuable. But me personally, I've always been a bit more sensitive. Really suck to get criticism on things that you think you're good at. But here, I had to remember that this is a thing that isn't done yet. This is a rough draft, and that this is a collaborative game, both telling it and balancing it. Every D&D table, every Pathfinder table, etc., have house rules for things. There's house rules in this game right now. I use the way my crits work are different from anybody else's crits. Not anybody else's, but everybody has a different use of crits and natural 20s and skill checks and disadvantage and advantage and floating modifiers, etc. And I was really appreciative that my players could come together and gently gently explain to me that that was not what they're seeking. And I was happy that I could tell them, I know I missed the mark on that. I'm sorry. I've been thinking about it a lot. I'm going to retroactively give you guys extra loot, including the loot that I forgot to give you in the first place. I'm going to give you guys extra XP, and I'm going to look into how I run future spellcasters purely for this issue. And even with all the safeguards I had in place for this encounter, my priests and mages, I was going to have a roll to determine what spell slots they'd use, because it's throughout the adventuring day. She got really lucky. She had all of her slots except for like a few first level ones. And she just fucking murked them with a spell that was way out of their league. A spell that I think is poorly balanced. This little fucking crazy Wizards of the Coast. Whatever. They didn't balance their game around my system. D&D is perfectly balanced at all other times. But it's made me reassess how I, 1, am going to do spell level brackets, 2, how I play spellcasters as NPCs in combat, 3, how I value combats. No more of this CR nonsense. I've finally bitten the bullet. Henceforth, I will be using a website called Kobold Fight Club, or Kobold plus.club, I guess. If you look up Cold War Fight Club, it's on there. On here, I'll give you a little visual. It's a cool little thing. So what you can do is you can type in what your players are, what their levels are, and this will tell you a rough idea for what the encounter should be. And this is effectively the encounter that I placed them within. Should be a moderate / feels high encounter. And that's by design, because they rolled a priest and a knight who are pretty deadly. The only thing I can think is more deadly is maybe 2 knights. And the priest had most of their spells, which is not what is supposed to happen with my my system I had in place to roll for these. This is awesome. This is perfect. Moderate feels like high. It's like the temperature outside when you're looking at the weather app. It says it's 72, but it feels like 76. This is what I'm going to be going for in the future, and when there are monsters that I kind of have to homebrew, I'm going to find the closest example and take a little off the top, maybe add a little, depending on how much more difficult I feel like I have made the monster compared to its closest stat block relative. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with the spell. Specifically, 2 CR? Like, I have no idea. And also, look at this. I didn't even use this, by the way. It's a bonus action. The priest can expend a spell slot to cause its melee weapon attack to magically deal an extra 3d6 radiant damage to a target on hit. This benefit lasts until the end of the turn. If the priest expends a spell slot of 2nd or higher, the damage increases by 1d6 for every... So, you want to know what I could have done for 2 CR? I could have had this priest run up, okay? I meet Magnus, the cloaked warlock. She pulls up her fucking staff, and she casts a 2nd level spell. She expends a 2nd level spell slot to deal 4d6 additional radiant damage. The weapon would do a total of 5d6 damage. What the fuck is the stat block? And I thought the stat block wouldn't be an issue, okay? Because I've ran this in a campaign that I have for my players that is significantly higher level. I put like 3 of these fuckers in a room, and it was a bloodbath. 3 of these guys, there was like 5 thugs and like an archer, and they just fucking murked them. They just swept the floor with them. It was the encounter I had to like welcome my players back after a long hiatus, and I was like, you guys, I don't know if you guys are gonna be ready for this. This is gonna be a hard encounter. They just fucking wiped the floor with them. It's almost like a CR18 encounter. They just fucking cleaned house with them. It's fucking absurd to me. TLDR, I'm very thankful for my players. I have wonderful, wonderful players. Ryan, Connor, Zara. Love playing with you guys. I am so looking forward to where this campaign goes. I hope you all know that I'm not trying to kill your characters. I love feedback from you 3 and my other group, specifically regarding my encounter and the balance, because it meshes a lot of other systems in with it. There are some times where I intentionally try to be bullshit, like the Catapulopus, where I give it like the 12d8 death ray or whatever. It's by design. There's a lot of fuck shit, and I'm happy my players are able to come to me with that fuck shit instead of just letting it stew in their mind and get the wrong impression of how I like to run my games. I'm extremely thankful for my players, all my players, Connor, Ryan, Zara, CC, Dylan, Robert. It's only 3 because Zara's also in that game. And although I'm never going to intentionally try to target and kill my entire party, I'm not a combative DM. I'm a referee. Sometimes you have an encounter that's a little too hard. Sometimes you have an encounter that's a little too easy. And sometimes you have an encounter that you think shouldn't be that hard, but almost wipes the entire party. And I'm really thankful that the campaign didn't wipe there, because it would have also felt really bad to have to rewind time, I guess, and say that didn't happen. Because once you do that once, it's never going to feel as good the rest of the game. I'm really thankful for my players. And because of them, I am developing a better strategy for designing fights and random encounters. I'm actually going to rework a lot of them right now. I am going to change my philosophy for how my spell brackets work. I'm going to even them out so you get more cool spells early. And thank you for watching. Now watch as I grab my mic with my opposite hand and I turn to my second monitor as I stop the recording.